Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of In the Blender with your host, Shake Money. Today we have a guy who everybody has pinned Mr. Negative, but to be honest with you, after talking to him, I think he should be Mr. Rational. But we'll let you decide. All this when we come back, baby. Don't go nowhere.
I know you heard me on the radio flexing. She loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all day. Pick up the phone late night with Larry K. I know you heard me on the radio flexing. She loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all day. Pick up the phone late night with Larry K.
So check this out. I grew up watching the Attitude Era. And this era of wrestling, I'm not a big fan of because I grew up watching the Attitude Era. I know wrestling, in my opinion, what good wrestling looks like anyway. And this next guest, I guess he's looked at as a negative person because he knows what a winning Miami Dolphin culture is. So, with no further ado, let's talk to the Mr. Reasonable, as I like to say, Mr. Negative. What's going on?
Oh, not much, Shea Curry. I like that.
Mr. Rational.
Mr. Rational. You know what? I just kind of speak from the heart. I speak with. I'm an emotional guy, especially with the sports. I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I mean, I've lived and died with this team. A little bit about me. I've been a fan since 1983. I started watching the Dolphins. It was a funny story, actually. My brother was a big Dan Marino fan in college, followed him at Pittsburgh. So he was like, wherever Dan Marino goes, that's the team I'm going to root for in the NFL. Because he didn't have a team back then. He was 13 years old. So I was 10. And he's like, yeah, I'm just going to root for the team that Marino goes to. So Marino ended up going to the Dolphins. So be it that Clayton also went to the Dolphins. That's the reason why I'm a Dolphin fan. So it's just kind of fate, right? That he and I are both Dolphin fans, and both our favorite players of all time, went to that team. And I tell you, those were the glory years. We saw a Super Bowl appearance in the second season in '84, and we seen an AFC Championship game in '85. There were some down years in the late '80s, but then they picked it back up in the '90s. Unfortunately, Buffalo, which is our nemesis right now,
Of course,
our nemesis back then. We just couldn't get by them, and it is what it is. And that's how I became a Dolphins fan, just because partly my brother, picking the Dolphins, and Mark Clayton. Once I watched him play, I was immediately just in awe of the talent he had, and his route running, his leaping ability, which kind of goes unnoticed. Oh yeah, that's the game I was at, the famous '93 game in Buffalo. The two-fingered salute by Ronnie Cox, fantastic. The game just a year prior to that, in '92, Keith Jackson's first game with Miami, and they thrashed Buffalo 37-10. Funny story with that game, and my brother and I are leaving. I'm 18 years old at the time, and a few Bills fans decide just to shove me. One separated my shoulder.
shit.
Yeah, as we're leaving, because I wasn't even chirping them or anything. I was just excited about the win Miami had. They went to 4-0 and just dominated Buffalo. But these guys, I held my own in the fight. But yeah, that was my first taste of the rowdiness that comes from out of Orchard Park. So I know it's not everybody there, but there's been some interesting. Definitely some interesting memories that I could definitely share. But yeah, that's a little bit about where I'm from, and
Yeah.
I would say the negative moniker.
Before you do, let me get Dolphinier. Best net. This is who we should be: a Dolphinier, not a two-near Dolphinier.
Dolphinier. I like it. No, I like it.
Mario Gonzalez, all the way from Cucamonga, California.
Nice.
Flavor J, Costanosa, Duke Tomlinson, the latest in menswear, and of course my brother from another mother, Crypto. But continue. Nice. So how'd you get the moniker?
Yeah, so the moniker kind of came out like it was in '94, 1994. So they played in the divisional playoff against San Diego. They were up in that game, right? 21-6. Second half, they just couldn't get it together. Offense was barely on the field. The defense finally, bent. And then we all remember the Stojanovic miss, 48 yards to end the game. And I was just like, once again, I poured all my heart, all my soul into this team, only yet again just to let me down, right?
Yeah.
95. I said, okay, you know what? It is what it is. They roped me back in, signed all those free agents, 19 former first round picks they had on the roster. Started out 4-0. Then they lose to Indianapolis and Jim Harbaugh. They're up 24-3, a game my brother was at on his honeymoon, and they
Oh
lost
man.
7-24, and then the locker room just unraveled. And it just seems like, it's a wash, rinse, repeat with this team, right? They find new and interesting ways to collapse at the end of seasons. And
Kind of like an art, right?
they've brought it to an art form, Shake, and that they are responsible for the name Mr. Negative, because I just know at some point in time they're going to remove the football or pull the rug out from under me, and I'm just going to have egg on my face. So it is what it is. But I'm always going to love them. I'm always going to be here.
No
I'm
doubt.
always going to be rooting them on. They are my team. I don't switch teams. I don't do that for any of the sports I watch. They are my teams for life. It's like it's in my blood. So
Yeah. I had Mike Oliva from Dolphins Talk, and he
yeah,
says,
I've watched his content.
yeah, he was on here, and he says, you'll leave your wife, you'll leave your mistress, but you won't leave your sports team.
That's so well put. Oh, look at that nice kitty cat. Yes.
Yeah. By the way, I noticed, I looked at your Twitter pictures, and when I first looked at first glance, I thought it was two palm trees.
Yeah, two cats.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, funny story there is, and people will say, like, even your cats look negative. So that was a picture that we just.
I never heard that before.
Yeah, they're actual brothers, and we actually caught that picture just like by chance. Unfortunately, we had to put one of the cats down a few years back, but we still have the gray one. So yeah, we think the world of him, and he's our boy. So
yeah, that's the difference. Cats, by the way, cats are all cats are negative. There's a difference between when a dog comes home, they're like, "Master, you're home."
right.
When you come you come home and a cat greets you, it's "You're late, slave. Where's food?"
Yeah. No, I mean, this cat here, he must have like part dog in him, because he just loves attention, right? He doesn't do his own thing. He's all over you, and that's what he does. That's just him, So see, it's kind of it's fun, but it can be also a little bit hectic. He's very attention needy. So what is what it is.
Yeah, I have three. I have one, Toby, Lana, and Archer. And Toby, he only gets needy at unfortunately at 3:00 in the morning. I'm like,
oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah. So, but at any rate, listen. One of my favorite jokes is, when I die, I'm gonna get 6 Dolphin players to be my pallbearer so they can let me down one more time.
Let me down one more time. That is a classic joke. It never gets old. It's so true. It is so true, because again, I think we could all, and I mean, I know some of the newer fans, if that's all they know is being let down, but I think we can all relate and say that, you know what, this team has let us down more times than we care to remember. And I know I'm forgetting a lot of moments. But yeah, I think when the negative moniker finally stuck, and this was before social media, was a game I was at 2002 in New England, and they blew an 11-point lead. A lot of people remember that game. They could have won the division. They ended up finishing out of the playoffs.
And that wasn't at Gillette Stadium, right?
Pardon?
That wasn't at Gillette Stadium?
Oh, it was at Gillette Stadium.
Oh, it was at Gillette Stadium?
Oh, yeah. And it was just heartbreaking. And I know, being from Canada, like, I had an 8.5-hour drive back home. So, that loss was like a gut punch.
Wow.
What should have been a celebration turned into like a funeral kind of procession. It's like it was awful.
Yeah, I'm not gonna complain about a 2.5 hour drive to the Hard Rock Stadium anymore. Holy
No,
crap!
that's not so bad. No, and I've actually enjoyed my first time I went to Hard Rock was 1994. That same season, the 75th anniversary season, and I watched Chicago and Miami in a driving rainstorm. It was I think Hurricane Ivan was coming through there at that time. So different. My first time ever in the stadium. Loved every minute of it,
No
and it's
doubt.
always been a good, great time. I was at the Baltimore playoff game in 2008. Was down there
Yep.
for that, and been down other times too. I've
This
only
game.
seen one win in that stadium. I've witnessed 5 losses. I think it is. So maybe I'm the problem. I don't know. I come to town. It's like they don't show up. So
Cat for life. Hey, Crypto was at that stadium last year. And he saw the Dolphins win. As a matter of
oh,
fact, Crypto was. I think the sole purpose of Crypto going to that game was
mhm,
to get Devontae Parker's autograph. He had a Dolphins Devontae Parker, and he wanted his autograph. And
nice.
Devontae Parker, he told Devontae Parker to come back to Miami because you have some unfinished business that you need to take care of. So
Yeah.
listen, I'm hoping that Parker comes back so Crypto could be happy.
You know what? And I wouldn't have a problem with Devontae coming back. You know, it would be like a nice reunion. He wouldn't be trying to ask for a lot of money. It would be a minimum salary with
Yeah.
incentives, and I think a lot of fans would be happy with seeing Devontae come back to Miami. And finish out his career there. It would be a nice kind of a wrap up to what I thought was obviously he was injured a lot, but when he was healthy, I mean, the guy balled out when he was healthy. So
So being that you got my attention here because obviously you were at this game. Tell me. Here's the thing. One thing I do remember. This is why I became a diehard fan. I got a Brian Cox. Only have two. I'm not a card collector. The two card collections I have is Glenn Rice from the Miami Heat, and it's in here somewhere.
here I'll show you something that I
And
got.
Brian Cox.
So I don't do much collecting anymore, but I do have this signed by Clayton Duper and Marino,
Oh, nice.
and then I got this here Marino's rookie card. So it's
Yeah, I got my I got get one of these for this Brian Cox. This is a Brian Cox rookie card.
nice. Yeah, yeah, I have one as well. It's kicking around here somewhere, but it's
Yeah.
around.
So tell me, the one thing I do remember about this game, he explained why did he give the middle fingers was because he said we're 1-1, and I was showing the fans what our record was.
Yeah, there's no love lost between Brian and the city of Buffalo. Back in those
Until
days,
his son got picked up by Buffalo Bills.
right? Yeah, and he went there, and I still don't know if Brian was. I'm sure he was happy for his son, but I still think deep down Brian holds that disdain for Buffalo. I will say that back in those days, it was always like Louis Oliver and Brian Cox, kind of like the mouthpieces of the Dolphins, and they were
Mhm.
kind of like the guys who would trash talk, right? And it was just glorious to see. I mean, I wish they would have toned it down because I mean they weren't able to back it up on the field. But I mean, for those few games, Brian did bring it. Like he
Oh
backed
man.
it up. Like he would go out and he would terrorize, Jim Kelly and those guys. And so he backed up his talk, and right, he didn't back down from the fans. I mean, the fans were literally throwing stuff at him. It was, yeah. I thought, literally, fans were going to rush the field. It was that intense that day in that stadium.
Well, there's a podcast called Fish Tank in the Fish Tank with
Yep.
Seth
Yeah.
Levin.
OJ McDuffie he tells a story about Brian Cox and what was it? Was it like urinating in a cup or something and giving
Yes,
it to a buffalo for throwing
and
it at a
he threw
buffalo
it in the
fan?
guy's face.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, again, I can't confirm that story.
Yeah, neither
Obviously,
can I.
obviously, if OJ is talking about it, and I think Louis Oliver talked about it, then yeah, there's truth to it, right? I mean, I could totally see Brian doing that because again, I've witnessed some of the fans in Buffalo, and these guys, they're no joke. Like they'll fight each other. I literally watched two brothers fighting each other at a Bills game. I go, what's going on here? They go, oh, that's fine. These guys do that every week. They're brothers. I'm like, oh, they fight each other. I go, oh yeah, they just don't agree on anything. So they literally just pound on each other, fists, and or it's something to see. Their tailgates are absolutely
not too many fan bases will set a table on fire and throw each other through it.
exactly, Shake. No, literally, like my buddy went to a Cowboy game, Dallas Buffalo, and literally in the distance they burnt down a bar. They burnt down a bar because they didn't have anything else to burn. They literally burnt down a bar that was made out of wood, and that was it. The thing was just torched and up in flames, and they just let it burn. So go figure. I mean,
What's going on, Fred?
What's up, Frederick? Welcome.
Ken Dorsey.
Yeah.
So, and well, by the way, when you said Louis Oliver and Brian Cox, one thing that they both have ties to Florida Gators.
Yeah.
Louis Oliver went to Florida, and Brian Cox's son went to Florida.
Yeah, no,
Brian Cox Jr.
Yeah, and I've commented on that game in '92 where Louis Oliver had 3 interceptions, including a 103-yard INT. And he goes, "Oh, you were at that game." And I'm like, "Yeah, I best game I ever been to. Thank you for the memories." And he goes, "Oh, that was just such a special day. Like everything just fell our way, and it was just like one of those magical kind of days." And I thought from there, right, they faced Buffalo in the AFC Championship game in Miami, and I thought this is our year. They were coming off a 31-0 win over San Diego the week prior. And I thought, you know what, they're finally going to be able to take down Buffalo. And unfortunately, turnovers got us. And, Thurman Thomas in that, counter tray and Thomas out of the backfield. So.
Yeah. And, Don Shula, I don't think today Don Shula would last in today's climate as far as coaching because he was a tough ass.
Well, yeah, people think Belichick was tough. Shula back like in the 80s. I mean, in the 70s, I don't know much about that era because again, I was too young. But in the 80s, like Shula, he was nicknamed the Jaw for a reason, right? Like if you did something wrong, you heard about it. Like that guy would tear a strip off you, just like Belichick, right? So yeah, in today's climate, a lot of these guys wouldn't survive. Your Bill Parcells, your Don Shula's, Tom Landry's, all those guys, all those greats, John Madden, they wouldn't because it's just a different culture. It's a different NFL now, especially the way these guys are getting paid. So,
Yeah, what's funny is in the early 2000s, Bill Belichick was getting players that was coached by Shula because he knew that if Shula coached them, I could coach them.
Sure. Well, no, they had the same kind of coaching style, right? Like they were both of that same era and that same philosophy, hard work, do your job, that sort of thing, right? Where, accountability on the field. Don't mess up, just do your job. And don't be the reason why we maybe lose a game, be the reason why we win a game, So I totally agree with that philosophy. Having watched Shula all through the 80s and 90s, that man was just attention to detail, right? Unfortunately, the GM Shula drafting just couldn't bring in the right pieces.
Kind of like Belichick.
Belichick got lucky, right? It wasn't just with Brady, but he brought in the right pieces. And it was a different NFL, right? Where I don't think it was not as competitive, but it was just there was different rules and so forth and so on, and things just fell New England's way. But for Shula, I mean, the Bills were always that monster, that kept Miami out of the Super Bowl. They were literally the one team that was always stymieing Miami. We took care of business versus pretty much everyone else in the AFC. It was Buffalo that was the monster. So
yeah. And by the way, this is Michael K. He is a Bills fan. He, me and him, we literally We
Yeah,
call
I
each
was
other.
saying
We
times.
call each other every name in the sun, but we have nothing but respect and love for each other.
And you know what? At the end of the day, that's the like I follow a lot of Bills fans. I've been on Whittle's show. Whittle from Twitter, people know him, and he's an excellent content creator. Go check him out. Just for
Captain
football
Cannon,
content.
by the way.
Oh,
Captain.
Mr. Negative out here. Yeah, Mr. Negative, come out of hiding. It's always a pleasure to come on and talk Dolphins football. But yeah, no, like there's a lot of Bills fans that I really respect. They're very knowledgeable about the game. I don't group them in with a lot of the rabid fans that are resort to the violence. These
Yeah.
guys don't do that. They just love their team. They love their football, and they're a pleasure to talk to. So I mean, that's
And
what I'm all about.
believe it or not, Michael K, one of the biggest insults you could say is he's Bills Mafia. He does not want to associate nothing with Bills Mafia.
No, and you know what? And
He's a Bills
again,
fan. He's a Bills
some
fan.
do and some don't, right? Because there's a lot of negativity with it's what do we think of with Bills Mafia? It's guys jumping through tables or lighting things on fire, right? That's what we think. So first thing that comes to mind. But I know that's not the entire fan base. I got nothing but love for the select Bills fans that I do interact with, because there are some really good Bills fans out there. So just like in the Dolphin community, there's some good and there's some bad. That's in any fan base. So
Of course. So you've been to many stadiums. Can you give me your top 5 games that you've been to?
Yeah, the games as far as entertainment, or just to look at the stadium, or
Yeah. Actually, all right. I would say 5. Your top 5 for memories, and then your top 5 for aesthetically
yeah.
pleasing.
So for memories, I'll go from 5 to 1. As far as memories are concerned, like Cincinnati game, I was there. I think it was Vontae Davis rookie year. Same, and rest in peace, Vontae. That was just tragic to hear happen to him. And Sean Smith ended that game with an INT. I want to say it was like 2010. Just a great game. The stadium, beautiful. The people in Cincinnati are just a pleasure. Like, they're really friendly, really accommodating. I can't say enough about that region of the country. A lot of fun. Number 4, I would have to say Denver game at home in 2001 in Miami. It's the only game I've seen Miami win at home. So that's why it's special for me, because it was the only victory I've seen down in Miami. I've been 5 or 6 times there. Number 3 was a game in the Meadowlands I seen against the Giants. I believe it was 2003. I'm like in enemy territory in the end zone. I'm a little bit inebriated. My brother's trying to calm me down. I'm chirping Giants fans. I'm just getting under their skin, and the whole section's ready to fight me, right? So, yeah, it was a great day. Miami won. It was a fabulous day. A lot of fun. Number 2 would have to be the New England game that I touched upon. Really entertaining, beautiful stadium, a lot of fun. Unfortunately, Miami lost, but again, I had a great time. Gillette Stadium is a beautiful place. If anyone can ever get down there, I fully recommend it. The people aren't as bad as maybe some might think. Again, to me, the rivalry between the Dolphins and Patriots isn't as heated as Buffalo Jets or Buffalo Miami or Jets Miami. So, and then number 1 was the '92 game in Buffalo. Nothing will ever touch that. That game was just, having gone through all the pain that I have gone through up until that point, going to Buffalo Bills games and Miami Dolphins. Literally, that was like a dream come true. I couldn't script that game any better. The outcome, I still have the VHS tape that it's recorded on. If people, it's going way back with VHS, but it's somewhere around here, and I'll watch it once in a while. Just basically, I love it, and and can enjoy that part of it. So, or I can YouTube it. It's on.
Yeah. You could, any YouTube could actually you could if you put YouTube. I watched the '85 game. Dolphins
Oh,
game.
the Bears.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it was entertaining.
That was, as far as just watching a game on TV, I'd have to say that was the most entertaining game. Just because of where Chicago was and where Miami was, right? Everyone was picking Chicago, and they stopped the undefeated streak, right? The Dolphins did that, and
Mhm.
it was just amazing. Like Marino just absolutely shredded them, and what made that season even tougher was that. Hey, Steve, what's going on, buddy? Yeah, welcome to the show. Um, yeah, so looking at that game and then feeling the disappointment when Miami lost to New England in the AFC Championship game, so many people wanted to see that rematch. And to me, Miami would have won the Super Bowl had they got past New England. I think they would have beaten Chicago. Chicago didn't have any answers for them, and then blitzing Marino. But that was tailor made for the Buddy Ryan defense. 46 defense was tailor made for Marino to shred. Like literally, it was it was just poetry in motion to watch. So
Yeah, it was. It was a good.
yeah.
And the one thing I do remember was OJ McDuffie, OJ Simpson, and um, who's the guy? Joe Namath was calling were color commentators in that game.
Oh yes, yeah, yep, yep. I remember. I remember watching it live, and then I've watched it on YouTube since then, and it brings back a lot of memories. That was actually day before my birthday. It was December 2nd. My birthday's on the 3rd, so it was a nice little birthday present. Oh, there you go, Steve. Yeah, you were at the game, so I mean, you knew the electricity of the Orange Bowl, and I'm sure it was just like nothing else.
By the way, this 2 weeks from today, he is going to be in the blender.
Oh, nice. I'll definitely tune in. So 2 weeks today.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. I will definitely tune in. I love following Steve on Twitter. He has a lot of great takes, and I agree with a lot of what he has to say. I think he's kind of down the same road I've been. He's seen the good, and lately he's seen the bad. So I mean, it is what it is. And I definitely feel Steve's pain amongst a lot of other people's pain. So, honorable mention for stadiums, if people want to go to it, is Seattle. No friendlier fan base than Seattle. The fans love their football. They're very respectful. The stadium is absolutely gorgeous. The tailgate is amazing. I can't say enough about. I was out there in '04, and it was just absolutely a treat to go and hang out with the Seahawk fans for a day and enjoy some really good football.
Yeah,
Welcome,
man.
Pillar. There you go.
So what's the other one? You have any other honorable mentions as far as
Yeah,
how was that
Cleveland.
Toronto game? The game you went to in Toronto, Buffalo Bills versus the Dolphins.
Oh, the Bills Toronto series. You know what, Shake, we have a lot to learn. Of course, we have CFL football up here, but we have a lot to learn as far as NFL fans. I can talk about that experience. So I go to the game, and there's no tailgate because our liquor laws here in Canada prevent just from drinking out in the parking lot. It's not licensed. So they had like an enclosure, a fenced enclosure where you could go in, and Budweiser was sponsoring the tailgate, and they were selling beers for like $8 to $9 a pop. So you couldn't even bring your own beer in, right? So I'm just like, this is absolutely ridiculous. It's not the same. I'm just going to go to the stadium and then hang out, walk around the stadium, and get to my seat because the tailgate experience was nil. It was not even there. So there's that, right? We have a lot to learn from our neighbors to the south about how to do a tailgate. I've seen both ends, and Canada just doesn't have the strength of excitement that an American tailgate has. The game was ultra quiet. It was basically neutral fans. So you seen like Dolphin fans, Bills, Cowboys, anyone who is an NFL fan kind of went to that game. And that's what pissed off the Bills fans so much because that game was neutral site and they lost their ever important home field advantage late in the year, which I think that game was in December. And again, we all know the history of Miami at Buffalo in Orchard Park. right? But this game was in the comfortable confines of Rogers Center. The dome was closed, and Miami won like I think 16-3, and it wasn't even Miami just dominated. So
Cool.
J.P. Lossman was the Bills quarterback that day.
So now I got to ask you this: you said tailgating. Which stadium did you have your best tailgating experience at?
That's a good question. Cleveland was really good. Detroit was amazing. I've also been to Detroit I was at the old Silver Dome a couple times in the 80s and 90s, and then Ford Field, which is it's not the same anymore. I miss the Silver Dome. That's my favorite stadium of all time. It's no longer there. But I would say Miami has had the best tailgate I've been to. Very friendly. People like, oh, you're from Canada. You're from Canada. Oh, come on over to the tailgate. Have a drink. Have a dog. Have a burger. Very friendly. Very inviting, and just a pleasure to walk around and see all the different tailgates that were set up. Some people are doing barbecues. Other people are doing like a fish fry. It was just a total smorgasbord of
Damn, that's what's up,
everything.
man.
I loved it. It was very, very friendly and just an inviting atmosphere, and one that I can't rave enough about. So,
And listen, after listening to you and the lengths that you went to go to games, you're a bigger fan than me.
you know what,
I'm being
Shane?
honest.
I mean, I've been blessed to have an opportunity to travel and to go to games. I don't really, and I appreciate the sentiment there. I don't really look at fandom as being how far you travel or where you
Yeah,
go for games. We all try and get to games that we can.
yeah, of
So I
course.
regard you guys as being bigger fans than I, because you're out here, you're talking Dolphins, you're doing the content, you're doing the research to come up with shows. Well, I went to a Bills tailgate. It's very rowdy, which I didn't enjoy. I've been to probably about 10 or 20 Bills games, in Orchard Park, and it's not a comfortable feeling. Obviously, I'm in my Dolphin gear, and they're throwing snowballs at you. I've had batteries thrown at me, eggs. I've had a full beer bottle knock me to the ground. I mean, I was out for a bit, and then I got back up. But
Damn.
it's yeah. If you want like a dangerous tailgate, oh yeah, Buffalo is definitely the cup of tea. If you're not a Bills fan, if you're a Dolphin, they hate the Dolphin shape. That's their most hated rival, is the Dolphins, because of what we did to them in the 70s. They haven't forgotten,
Well,
and they love
shit,
to
we ain't
stick
forgot what
to
they
us.
did to us in the '90s, so we're even.
Yeah, exactly, right. It has been, but now Buffalo has kind of gotten that tiebreaker in the last 4 or 5 years. So yeah, but getting back to what I was saying with the whole thing with the fandom stuff.
By the way,
Um,
this is Drew Estates, Tabar Special.
nice.
But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Nice. No, but getting back to the whole fandom thing, like I regard you guys as doing the heavy lifting, doing the legwork, to bring fabulous content to the community. Like I rely on you guys for a lot of my Dolphin news. You guys are right there, around the city, state of Florida. Not everybody, but the majority of you who do the content, and you all have your inside sources, and you have your people that relay information. And I'm relying on that because I'm all the way up here in Canada, and I don't get Dolphin content unless I tune into you guys. So you're out here every week providing me, a fan, long-time fan, with those things that I just can't get. So to me, you guys are the bigger fans. But again, I look at it as, we're all just fans of the Dolphins, and nobody loves the team maybe more or less. It's just, we
Yeah,
all
I
love the
understand.
team. So.
No, but essentially what I'm trying to say is, if anybody that says that you're not a fan doesn't know what the hell they're talking about.
I'm so used to it, Shake, and I get that moniker because, and I get that put on me, that label put on me because of my, negative demeanor, right? And that demeanor, again, it's only what the Dolphins do. I only base what they do as to my mood, right? So I try and be upbeat. I try and be positive. Even this past year, right? Like I changed my name at one point because I said I would, because the Dolphins showed me against the Cowboys they could win. I brought back the name because I posed a question or a poll on Twitter because everyone was like, "You got to bring the name back. You got to bring the name back," because they let us down once again. I'm like, "You're right." Even I was, tricked for a moment to thinking that it was different, but in
Yeah.
the end, it was all just the same, right? And I don't know. I'm hopeful that, in my lifetime, I'm going to see this team win a Super Bowl because that's ultimately what I've been craving. It's nothing less will suffice. And the participation trophies are all well and good. But at the end of the day, we all will remember a Super Bowl. We ain't going to remember participation trophies to be completely honest.
Yeah, because let me tell you something. When you buy a lemon, the dealership who sold it to you isn't going to tell you that it's a lemon. He's
Sure.
gonna he's
They're
gonna
going to
he's
play
gonna
it
run
up. Yeah.
all the bells and whistles and
Right.
leave out the fact that it's a fucking lemon.
Well, they're going to dress it up, right? They're going to dress it up as nice as they can to get, again, people believing in that dealership, right? If there's questions or there's concerns about that dealership, just
Mhm.
like our Dolphins, if there's questions or concerns, well, they got to basically take the fan base maybe here and get them up here because now there's question, there's doubt. It's no different with the Dolphins, right? All those player losses, Christian Wilkins, Rob Hunt, uh, Jerome Baker, all those longtime players. Well, are our new players going to be better? I don't know. None of us know. We're hopeful. We're hoping that it all comes together. But again, we've only seen what we've seen, and a lot of it's been disappointment. So
Yeah. So, being that said, what do you give last year's team grade?
uh see the collapse at the end of the year really kind of tarnishes their overall grade. So while the first part of the season, you got to give them an A minus, an A. Obviously, they were dominating, and then towards near the end of the season, they started to struggle like they have in many, many past seasons. So I'll be fair. I'll give them a B.
Mhm.
It would have been higher. It would have been a B plus had they beaten Buffalo, even if they lost in the first round, get the division because that would have been an achievement, right? Win the division. Now, for me, I said they had to win a playoff game, right, to convince me that they were going in the right direction. They didn't do that, but I'll be fair that if they beat Buffalo and then lost in round one, okay, I could live with that. But at least we got a home playoff game. It's
Yeah.
progress in my mind. Really, we didn't make any progress from the year prior because we lost on the road in the first round. So I'll give them a B, and I think that's being fair.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's
Yeah.
not being trying to be a hater. It's not trying to be negative or whatever, or just whatever people might think I am. To me, it's just being fair that there's a lot of good, but then it ended up with a lot of bad. It's not how you start; it's how you finish. And the NFL is what have you done for me lately, right? So it's one of those whatever you want to old cliches or whatever. It's so
Yeah.
now we go into a new season and we'll see. I mean, I'm not optimistic. I right now I have them winning 9 games this upcoming year because I just think there's been too many losses, and we still have holes. Of course, the draft is still on the horizon, and we can fill some holes, but our injuries going to keep biting us in the end. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
you know,
it's funny as far as division. In my opinion, division. I don't care about division wins because you look at the Denver Broncos. They went to the wild card. They had 13-3, but still, they went to as a wild card team.
yep,
Won the Super Bowl.
sure,
Pittsburgh Steelers as a wild card team. Won the Super Bowl. The Giants went as a wild card team, and the latest one is Tom Brady. Look, Tom Brady. Tom Brady
Tampa
went
Bay.
undefeated one year, right?
Yep.
Had the number one seed, went to the Super Bowl and lost. And then
Yeah.
his last Super Bowl was a wild card team. Had to visit every team. He went to Green Bay. He went to New Orleans, who beat the shit out of him 2 times in a row.
Yep.
And I mean, he did the impossible and won the Super Bowl. That to me, I think I'm more of a bigger picture. The division title is just a hat and T-shirt.
Yeah, and again, I'm not going to disagree with that, Shake. I'm just more or less like I gotta. If I want to take this team and look at it as baby steps,
Yeah,
yeah,
of course.
to me that would have been a nice little baby step. If I'm
Mhm.
looking at it like you just said, overall big picture, no, you got to win a playoff game. You that's the next progression, and there's no more excuses, especially with Stephon Diggs out of the division. I still think Buffalo's going to be a problem because Josh Allen's just that guy, and he has our number. It is what it is.
Yeah, and
But you know what? If Buffalo is definitely taking some hits, the Jets. I mean, yeah, they're an older team with an older quarterback. So I mean, again, we shouldn't say old, but that's a lot of age depending on the tackles that they're depending on and the quarterback. So again, but they're going to be tough. I'm not discounting them. New England's rebuilding, but this is the Dolphins' time, right? I mean, if it's not now, then when? I mean, there's no more excuses. It's set up beautifully for Miami to, you know, to take a hold of the division. Let's see if they can do it. They got to have that dog in them. They got to have that fight. And unfortunately, they've just gone by the wayside at the end of seasons. And
so
it's just I can't explain it. I don't understand it. Why this team just looks differently in December and January. It's like night and day. If they could play the season from like August till November, we probably would have a dynasty on our hands because
this is true.
they're just that good, right? In
Yeah,
those months.
we're
So
we're we're kind of like Earth and Wind and Fire. September.
yes, yes. Well, we do perform, and that's even going back into the Shula days, right? Like they had great success in September. Now, I think the Heat had a lot to do with that. Teams hated coming down to South Florida in September, and rightfully so. I've been to a game in September, and I've never experienced heat like what you guys had going on in September. It was a different thing. You know, that heat. I enjoyed it because never don't normally see it, but that was different. So I can only imagine what it's like for the players on the field. And that was before the stadium got the little coverings and whatnot. So the sun beat down on you no matter where you sat. It didn't matter. So,
So all right, we got two awards: the MVP for
Yep.
offense and defense, and then the participation trophy. So who was your
So,
offensive MVP, and who was your offensive participation trophy?
so my offensive MVP is Tyreek. The guy. I mean, he's like it's like a video game out there with him, right? It's like something you drop in Madden, and it's just a guy you can't stop, right? There's just certain guys you can't stop. So yeah, for me, it's Tyreek. And sorry, what was your other question?
And participation trophy. You pretty much he didn't play. He just participated.
Wow, that's an interesting question. Man, it's an interesting question. Um, I hate to use Taron Armstead, but for me, it's Armstead, right? Like so much more was expected of him, and he just again couldn't stay healthy. And when he did, I mean, it was okay, but I would either say him or I mean maybe like a Chase Claypool. I expected more out of him as a
Yeah.
guy they traded for and added, like a third wide receiver. I think, he's maybe a little bit overrated, but yeah, those are the two guys I'd have to go with. Maybe in like a tie.
And how about defense?
Defense. Yeah, my MVP for defense. Oh, you know what? I like Zach Seiler. I think he was just, kind of that lunchbox type player. He had the sacks, he had the pick six, in that Tennessee game. I just thought, the guy for, the money he's making, he's not one of the bigger name players on that defense. He just comes and does his job. I'm a big fan of
Yeah.
him. I would say Zach Sealer was our unsung hero. Jalen Ramsey, you could make a case for too. When he finally came back, he was huge. You got to give him some flowers.
Yeah, and when Zach, people don't realize this, but when Ramsey came back, that's when that's when Christian Wilkins' sacks went up because he was able to get good coverage sacks.
Yeah. Well, and again, I mean, I think the world of Christian Wilkins. I think you couldn't sign both of them, and I just think that Zach Seiler gives you close to the production of a Christian Wilkins. So I think Miami saving all the money they did made a smart decision there, not giving not giving Christian the bag, and deciding to make the deal with Seiler. Right? I just think he's more consistent. We've seen consistency from Seiler all through his years with the Dolphins, whereas Christian, last year finally got the sacks, right? But he's in a contract year. So is he playing for the contract, or is he, is that him? I don't know.
Well, kind of like Olivier Vernon.
Very good
his contract
example.
year, his numbers went through the roof.
Right, and then he got the big contract from the Giants, and then he disappeared once he went there. Right, you never heard from him again. So yeah, I think you might see the same thing with Christian Wilkins, right, out in Vegas. I think he's a solid player, but is he going to be the player from last year? I don't know, because he doesn't have that guy next to him. Now he's got Max Crosby, but again, defensive tackles, and everyone knows when Ndamukong Suh came here, teams were able to eliminate him, right, and that was with Olivier Vernon, Cameron Wake on that same defensive line. And still, Ndamukong Suh was not the same guy that he was in Detroit. So it's not hard to game plan for a defensive tackle. You can do it, and you can double team, you can triple team if you have to. And there's only one guy I've ever seen defensive tackle that's been an absolute.
Aaron Donald.
Yeah, Aaron Donald. Actually, I'm going to go way back. Another guy that most people won't remember. Sorry?
Warren Sapp was another one.
Yeah. Warren Sapp. Even further back, Jerome Brown. I don't know if many people, the Miami Hurricane, right? This is going back to the late 80s, early 90s. And unfortunately, Jerome Brown, rest in peace. He lost his life far too soon, and may he rest in peace. But that guy was an absolute terror. Cortez Kennedy was another one. Another University of Miami guy. Went to Seattle. But again, I'm aging myself. Those are guys from way back when. And yeah, but Aaron Donald is that dude. Like that's why he makes the money he makes, right? And he's just a cut above all the other guys, as far as I'm concerned. But the disappointment guy on the defense, or the participation guy, oh man, I'd have to say Xavier Howard. I'd have to say X was, I thought the safeties played well enough. I thought Jalen was as advertised. The linebackers, I was surprised by David Long staying healthy. Didn't see that coming. And Jerome Baker is what he is, right? We know what he is. But you know what? I earned my respect big time when he played at the end of the season hurt, and he was, making big plays. So again, he stepped up. But yeah, I would say Xavier Howard. We didn't see the same X that we had seen years prior. Last 2 years have just been. I get why Miami moved on. So
let me put you on the spot now.
Okay.
All right. You have the San Diego Chargers, LA Chargers. You have the Oakland, LA Raiders, Oakland Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah.
You have the Baltimore Colts and the Indianapolis Colts. Now, if the Miami Dolphins were to go to Austin, Texas, or Oklahoma, and become the Austin, Texas Dolphins, and they stay the Dolphins, they don't change names. They keep the franchise name intact. I know it's not going to happen. This is just a hypothetical.
Yep.
Would you still be a fan?
Absolutely. I presume the logo is staying the same.
Yeah, everything. Yeah, they keep just like with the Raiders, just like with the Rams, just like with the Colts.
Yeah, I would still be a fan, because I've always said, Shake, that I root for the logo. I'm all about the logo. I don't even have a favorite player right now. Like I haven't had a favorite player since Sam Madison. And the reason for that is that these guys don't hang around. Like you buy their jersey and then 2 years later they're probably gone. And there's no not it's not like it used to be, right? Where you knew a guy was going to be there for maybe like 10, 15 years. But now he signs a free agent deal and you know you have him for like say 3 or 4 years and then he's gone. Right? Like people probably bought Christian Wilkins jerseys, right? As far as last 4 years, figuring, oh yeah, he's a mainstay. Now he's gone. So what do you do with that jersey, right? You kind of retire it, you put it in the closet. I don't know. I've seen guys change the nameplate on like from Tannehill jerseys to Waddle. I guess that's a way to go as well. But I'm all about the logo now. It's the
Yeah,
logo. I want to see the team. I want to see, and I hope they stay in Miami because I think
yeah, of course.
that is South Florida, right? Like the Dolphins are just such a presence in the community, and it's embedded in the city, right? I can't imagine them ever leaving. But yeah, I want to see that logo up on the TV screen and it say Super Bowl champions whatever year, and to me that would be like a dream come true because that's a team I've invested so much time and energy in that at the end of the day, it made it all worth it. You know what I mean? I'll still
Mhm.
watch regardless. I love NFL football. I watch football religiously. I played in high school, and it's just not the same watching. I grew up watching Canadian football. That's where I learned the game. I live in the city of Hamilton, root for the Tiger Cats, and I still enjoy that football, but NFL is where it's at.
So you have a favorite
Although,
CFL team that you watch?
well, Hamilton, they're the hometown team, the Tiger Cats. I remember watching, going to games, and Cameron Wake was playing for British Columbia, so I watched him. I watched Doug Flutie up here. I've watched Warren Moon back in the '80s with Edmonton. So I've seen my share of Miami Dolphin players come through the CFL and kind of cut their teeth there, and just learn, and then get to the NFL. But funny story, I'm walking downtown Hamilton, and I'm watching where I'm going, but for a split second, I turn my head and I bump into this individual wearing a Bills cap. Well, it's Doug Flutie. He's in town watching his brother. I go, oh, Doug, I'm sorry, I knocked you down. Doug's like 5'9", if that, five. He's small, and I'm
Hmm.
6'2". So he goes, oh, no problem. I helped him up, and he's like, oh, what are you? You from the city? I go, yeah, born and raised Hamilton. I go, I know now you're with the Bills, Doug, and I'm a Dolphins fan, so I can't really root for you. I'm sorry. He goes, no, I get it. That's our main rival, but yeah, it was really interesting just kind of shooting the breeze with him, just on the just downtown Hamilton, and meeting him, and yeah, so he loves the CFL. He'll speak very highly of it because it gave him a second opportunity, to do his thing. But yeah, NFL is where it's at. I love the league. I love the draft. I've been to drafts to observe. I was at the Tannehill draft in New York. Um, I'm debating. I want to go to Detroit for the draft this year. It's only a 3.5 hour drive, so I'd love to go, but I don't know if I'm going to get down there. But yeah, no, NFL is where it's at for me. I'm not a big hockey guy. Even though I'm Canadian, doesn't matter. I love what I love, and that's football. And I love the Dolphins. They have my heart, and it's in my blood. It's not going anywhere. They go to the moon, and I'm going to root for the Moon Dolphins. Like that's what I'll do. I'll root for them.
Yeah,
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 yeah. So it's pretty much you right there.
that's my DNA. That's so yeah. That is so accurate. So accurate.
But so two-part questions now. Number
Yeah.
one, if your hometown team, can you name a player in your favorite Canadian team that you wish would have been a Miami Dolphin?
So, oh, you mean from the Tiger Cats?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, oh yeah. First player I ever, and again, I don't expect people to know who these guys are.
Yeah, of
But
course.
the first player I ever really watched in the CFL was a guy called Grover Covington. He ended up being the all-time sack leader in the inside the CFL.
Hmm.
See, the nice one color. Yeah, but I would have loved for him to have played for the Dolphins back in the 80s because this guy was just a terror on defense. Like he won multiple defensive awards. He was kind of like a Cameron Wake, before there was a Cameron Wake. And yeah, Grover Covington was defensive end. I actually met him at a baseball banquet of mine. I have a photo with him and a guy named Steve Stapler, two longtime Tiger Cats that I got the pleasure to meet. But yeah, that would be the one guy that I wish would have kind of played with the Dolphins. Another guy would have been a wide receiver named Earl Winfield. This guy was just amazing as a CFL player. Wasn't the fastest guy, but he was a clean route runner, and his catch point, like the guy could just, out leap. Just yeah. Fran Tarkin, yeah, that's another one. It's another good example. But yeah, would have been Grover Covington for me. One
All
of my
right, and
favorite.
the other part question is watching the CFL. Which is the best CFL player that converted to the NFL that you've ever seen play in person?
That'd be Warren Moon. Warren Moon. I know that Flutie, was, he was great in the CFL and he had, some great moments in the NFL. But Warren Moon, I mean, that guy, the CFL, I think saved his career because he went there. He won 5, and this is the Grey Cup, which is what we call the championship trophy. He won like 5 of those in a row in Edmonton. They were like a dynasty. And then he went to Houston from there, and we all know, the numbers that he put up. Unfortunately, Houston just didn't have that whatever, kind of like Miami, right? They just didn't have those lucky bounces. They put up some great records. Warren Moon put up a lot of yards, and gave a lot of people a lot of fantastic memories. So I would say, yeah, Warren Moon was definitely, the best player I ever seen come out of the CFL and go to the NFL and prosper there. University of Washington. Yeah.
Do you remember Mac Moore?
Matt Moore? Oh yeah.
Mac Moore. MACKM. Mac
Mac.
Moore.
He's a CFL player?
Yeah, he was a CFL player.
Yeah, you know what? I don't recall him.
Because the only reason I brought that up is because when I was watching, because Crypto is from Chicago, and the reason I watched that game, he was my third guest of In the Blender last year. This is season 2.
Yeah.
So season 1, that's when I watched the Bears game, and what stuck out to me is there was a defensive end who wore the number 91, who came from the CFL. His name was Mac Moore. That was his rookie year. Mac Moore.
Okay.
He was devastating. He was. I think he got a sack, and he was a rotation guy. Of course, he wasn't a starter, but he was a rotation guy. It was his rookie year. Mac Moore came out of the CFL, and he wore number 91.
I'll look him up. Yeah, no, I'll look him up. Another guy that just came to my mind, early '90s, Chuck Klingbeil. Do you remember him?
No.
Yeah, Chuck Klingbeil was a defensive tackle, nose tackle for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and Miami plucked him. I can see why the Dolphins go to the CFL. They've really done well, scouting the league and finding. Obviously, Cameron Wake was the best player they've ever found in the CFL, but they've done it time and time again. You go back and look. Big Ben, remember the kick returner? He was another guy that was good for a few years with Miami, and he was a CFL guy.
Sam McGuavin?
Yep, McGuavin. The guy they just signed out of Toronto, he's an interesting player, the corner. He was Rookie of the Year last year in the CFL. So I can't remember his name. It eludes me. They just signed him like last week. And, again, a camp guy, but a guy to definitely watch. Can't remember his name. But he has an interesting story to his path through the CFL. And then the Dolphins signed him, I guess, as a camp guy he'll compete. Maybe he'll be a special teams guy. I don't know, but he could be a gem, could be a diamond in the rough. We'll see.
So, what is your game day? Right? Do you have a special game day food that you like to consume while you
Oh,
watch the
chicken
game?
wings, chicken
Huh?
wings, chicken wings.
Oh, nice. Is there a special
Yeah.
kind?
You know what? I like. I'm not one to go for suicide or hot wings. I go with medium. There's actually a place I live near that I drive to, and they have all you can eat wings on Sundays. So yeah, for like $25, and Mr. Negative can put back about 3 to 4 pounds, usually four
Damn.
pounds of wings. Yeah, it's I got like a hollow leg, I guess, but I get my money's worth. They don't make money off of me, so it's all good.
And
Yeah,
what's the best tailgate food you've ever had since you were doing all these tailgates?
oh, I would say Seattle had because they're obviously like right on the water there, and Seattle's a big city for like fish and the Pike's Place Market. I would say yeah, I had like a grouper out there that was just awesome. It was unbelievable. Um, Very good. Rivaled the one I had in South Carolina when I was down there at Myrtle Beach. But yeah, Seattle, like they had a great clam chowder. You'd think that would be Boston, but Seattle makes a dynamite one as well. Very underrated. But yeah, like mackerel, they did like a big fish fry. I think
Oh, nice.
that was probably the best one I've ever had. Miami did a really good one with it was like a lot of just barbecue, like really nice barbecue. I can't really compare it. I've never been to Kansas City. I hear their barbecue is quite amazing. But yeah, no, Miami really had a good one as well. A lot of nice ribs and steak and stuff like that. So yeah.
All right, being that you're old school, I'm gonna another question put you on the spot. Which is the best wide receiver duo in your opinion, the Marks brothers or Waddle and Hill?
Yeah, I'm going to be again. Yeah, the Marx Brothers for me. I know that Waddle and Hill are amazing. Not taking anything away from them, but to me, Mark Clayton, was an eighth round pick, came kind of out of nowhere, out of Louisville, and I understand he played with Dan Marino, and that's obviously going to boost his career. But that guy, for the size that he was, and in the era that he played, and that's another thing. Errors mean a lot, right? Now it's a passing league. Back then, what Miami was doing was way ahead of their time. So for my money, it would be the Marx Brothers. But it's close. It's very close. I actually um, I rank Irving Fryer right up there as well when he played in the early '90s with the Dolphins. Him and Marino, that was electric. It was only unfortunately for about 3 years, but during that time, a lot of people can look at the production Irving Fryer had and be like, "Wow!" Like there's one game in particular, the '94 game, where in the mud, right, where Dan comes back from the Achilles and then totally absolutely destroys New England, right, with the
Mhm.
5 touchdowns and 4 went to Fryer. He had over 200 yards receiving that day on 4 catches. It was just unreal, amazing.
All right, so I'm gonna do a little trivia question for you. Trivia, Dolphins trivia. So,
Okay,
all right, all right. So check this out. I'm gonna say a player, right? And you try to guess who what player I'm talking about.
okay.
Okay. Now, trying to. Damn it. Okay. I am from Akron, Ohio. Akron. I came from Akron. I was drafted in the third round. Who am I?
Jason Taylor.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm a draft I'm a total draft guy, so yeah, that's why as soon as he said third round in Akron, I knew he played for Toledo, if I'm not mistaken. Is
Yeah.
it Toledo? Yeah, yeah.
I thought it was for. I thought he played for Akron, but
Maybe it's Akron. The school maybe eludes me, but I know it was third round. And it's funny. Jimmy actually had to be kind of convinced to take him. There was a cool story behind that, but yeah, no.
Yeah, I know he won. He was gonna get him. They say he was gonna get him in the second round, but Sam Madison was there. He said, I can't pass him up.
Look at that draft, right? That's a home run already with those two guys. So,
All right. Speaking of Jimmy Johnson, who was his very first draft pick?
Jimmy's for Miami
Mm-hmm.
would have been Yakeel Green.
Nope.
No, it wasn't Yakeel.
He was a first round draft pick, but it wasn't his first pick.
His first pick. So it would be 96 that they would have, because that's when he came in. Zach Thomas went in the 5th round that year.
Defensive tackle.
Daryl Gardner out of Baylor. I don't know why I thought Yakeel Green. That was the following year, I guess. And then he fell with injuries. Yeah, Daryl Gardner was when he wanted to play. That guy was an absolute beast. You couldn't stop him. Unfortunately, he just didn't have
Daryl Gardner and Tim Bowens.
Lethal force. That was just that defense that Jimmy built. It deserves so much better. I mean, that was the best defense I'd ever seen. That 02 defense, 2002 defense, none better. It had like 8 Pro Bowlers on it. It was unreal. They deserved a better fate, my friend.
I'm the voice of Miami Dolphins that was drafted out of Michigan and played. Huh?
Was that Joe Rose?
Nope. Close. He was a color commentator. He played tight end too.
Oh, Mandage?
Yeah, Jim Mandage.
Yeah, Jim Mandage. May he rest in peace.
Oh man, he was my favorite color commentator of all time. Sorry.
Yeah, all right, Miami. That's that coins the phrase, right? It threw me off when you said.
This is my other favorite color commentator right here.
Color. I love Color's content. I mean, I tune in all the time. I enjoy what Color brings. Welcome, EM. Always a pleasure to speak with EM. Color, I love conversing back and forth with him. He's old school like me. We're fans from the same era, so I can relate to a lot of what Color is trying to get across and what he's trying to talk about, because I lived it as well. I mean, he's lived all those eras, so it's real easy to understand where Color is coming from. 100%.
All right. I come out of LSU, second round, and I was a hell of a road blocker. Yeah, Jarvis Landry. Yeah. I was a first round pick out of San Jose State, and I was part of the Killer Bees.
Well, so that's going back San Jose State. See, that was probably in the early 80s, wasn't it? This is just when I was starting to be a fan. So it wasn't Brophy.
Number 58.
Or it wasn't A.J. Dewey. He was from LSU.
Alabama. I think it was Alabama.
Was it Alabama? I know it was a Southeastern, an SEC team.
And he wore number 58.
Was it Kim Camper?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kim Camper.
I still got to get down to his restaurant. I hear so many great things. Yeah, I gotta get down there.
He's one of the guys. Listen, he is on my bucket list to get. I want to meet him and get a picture with him. So,
you know what? He if you wanted to say anyone's a Mr. Dolphin, like he'd be up there, right? He'd be in that discussion as a Mr. Dolphin, right? Like a guy who just is giving back to the community, who's been one of the more well-known Dolphins of all time, and stayed in the area and made a wonderful life for himself. So props to him.
He was a guy in the shower in Ace Ventura.
Where he smacks him with the towel.
That
was a great.
Hey, by the way, listen, if you guys Fish Tank podcast, if you only listen to one episode of In the Fish Time podcast, I would tell you the Kim Bocamper is my favorite. I could listen to that a million
It's a
times.
great interview. Was that? I'll have to check that out. I've only listened to the one with Brian Cox, where they were talking about Brian Cox.
Mhm.
I'm sure OJ has a lot of wonderful memories. Awesome. Respect to him for all the the production he gave the Dolphins. One of the best Dolphins of all time. Just a pleasure to watch. I am an OJ fan. Fantastic player.
So before we wrap this up, man,
Yeah.
I want to thank you once again, man. This
Jake, I
I felt like
appreciate
I felt like we're here for like 10 minutes, and it's an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Time
I
just flew
agree.
by.
It's been an absolute pleasure. I really appreciate coming on. I love talking about this team, and I love getting other perspectives and other people's opinion on where they see the team, because I know where I see it. So,
being that you're from Canada, how were and you obviously watched it an era before social media. How did you consume your Dolphin news back in the day?
wow, you know what? It's funny you mentioned that. So we had newsstands, right? This back, going back to newsprint. That's how you had to get your information before the internet. And even in the early moments of the internet, it was still newsprint. So we used to get funny, the local mall, for whatever reason, they used to have Miami Herald and the Sun Sentinel. It was called International World News. And they had newspapers from all over the world. And one of those was the Miami Herald or the Sun Sentinel. So I used to buy those newspapers on a Friday because it would preview the game for Sunday. And that's how I got my Dolphin content. That was the only place I could get it, was through those newspapers. And then the other newspaper that I would buy religiously was USA Today, and that was offered as well, the same place. So they would preview all the games, and there'd always be a lot of Dolphin news because they were one of the bigger teams, to follow back in those days. But yeah, there was no other way to get Dolphin. There was no content creators, obviously. There was no NFL Network. There was no. I mean, you had to watch the pregame shows, or you had to actually physically go to games, and that wasn't always easy to do, especially growing up. In my teens, and just something I wasn't able to do then. So yeah, I had to rely on newspapers that were luckily offered in a place called International News, and I think it cost me like maybe $1, $2 to buy a newspaper, and that's how I got all my news for the Dolphins. There was
How were
also
you able to watch the games? Were the Dolphin games available, or were they?
and it's funny you mention that because so in those early years in the '90s, you could find those obscure bars with the old satellite dishes. This is before DirecTV, and sometimes they'd have the games on. But because Miami was in the AFC East, so when Buffalo wasn't playing, on the same time slot, they put Miami on, right? Because Marino had such a following, right? It was one of the bigger teams to watch when the Bills weren't on here. The thing with Canada that was frustrating is that the networks up here could put on anything they wanted, but they decided to put the Buffalo Bills on because of the proximity. We're only an hour away. So it was very frustrating. But I mean, I've seen more than my share of Dolphin games on TV. So luckily that was a thing. And if it wasn't, I went to a bar to watch the games. So I did what I had to do to get my Dolphin fix. And that's how that kind of went. I missed some really good games though too, because either the bar didn't offer it, or they weren't offered on just regular cable TV. So, but it is what it is. That's why I tried to always go to Buffalo once a year. At least I get to see Marino and the boys at least once live. I did it as well when they came to Detroit. So I always made sure I went there, and yeah, it was always a great time. Whether it was Buffalo or Detroit, is I was
That's
watching
what's
what I
up.
loved. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So I have 5 duos. Okay, Ricky Ronnie, the Marx Brothers, Dwight Stevenson, Richmond Webb, Sam Madison, Patrick Surtain, Zach Thomas, Jason Taylor. Now, out of those 5 duos, if you could insert them into next year's roster, who would they be? Who would it be?
Oh wow. I'm probably gonna go just because I think that position group is a little shaky. But this is close. So really, I have two. Dwight Stevenson was one of the best centers I've ever seen. When we lost him, the team regressed. That offense regressed. So I probably go Dwight Stevenson and Richmond Webb just because Teron Armstead, we don't know if he's going to play and when he's going to play. Right? We get maybe 9 games if we're lucky. So yeah, Richmond Webb and Dwight Stevenson on the current line with Tyreek and Waddle and all those guys, yeah, that offense would be electric, right? But then again, we don't have our edge rushers, Chubb and Phillips. So Jason Taylor and Zach Thomas, even though Thomas played in the middle, would look very formidable, you know. So it's close, but I got to give the nod to Dwight Stevenson and Richard Webb, two guys that are two of the best guys of all time at their positions. It's a shame Richard Webb is not in the Hall of Fame. He deserves
Yeah,
it.
for sure.
And Dwight Stevenson, I mean, his Hall of Fame, entrance is more than more than justified. That guy was one of the best centers ever. I mean, I can't even say enough about his play. Another guy who was in Ace Ventura.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it was. And let me ask you this. So, what's going on, Lewis? How you doing, brother? Good to see you.
Lewis, welcome. Always a pleasure, Lewis.
So, if let's say for hypothetically, you would have picked Jason Taylor. So you had Jason Taylor. So you had to eliminate. If you had to eliminate one of the 2 edge rushers. Who would it be? Phillips or Chubb?
I'm probably going to eliminate Chubb just because of the money aspect, right? And the multiple knee injuries. And plus Phillips is younger. So that's where I'm going. But I mean, either guy, has been really good for Miami. It's not always been consistent, but I don't have a problem with either guy, Chubb or Phillips. I mean, you can flip a coin and add in Jason Taylor, and I don't think you miss a beat. All 3 are great players. They really are.
Yeah, it would be. So, all right. So, the final question to wrap it up, and once again, man, I could talk to you for hours, man.
Oh, Shake, I feel the same way. This has been an absolute enjoyment and a real pleasure. So,
yeah. So, your Dolphins Mount Rushmore.
Well, you got to have Marino up there. There's no doubt. Now we want players I've seen.
Tua, right?
Sorry,
Tua. You said 2? No.
Shake, don't do that to me. Don't do it. I'm gonna have my haters, just coming after me. No, I go Marino. Now these are players I've seen, so I can't include Zonka because again I wasn't around. So even though they're great players and not to take anything away from them, these are players I've seen. So I go, Dan Marino, Ricky Williams, Zach Thomas, and Jason Taylor. Honorable mention would be Sam Madison. To me, he's the best corner we've ever had, but I can only have 4 guys on the Mount Rushmore. Those are my 4.
How did you feel when we got rid of him?
He's the reason I stopped having favorite players because I didn't like when Sam didn't want to go. I'm glad he won a Super Bowl. It was with the
And he
Giants,
stopped the undefeated season too.
and he
Mind you.
stopped the undefeated season, which I mean I give him full props. Very happy for Sam. He was a pleasure to meet, to talk to. But yeah, I was devastated. Right, this was like a guy. I had his jersey. I just absolutely loved his play on the field. It was sad. Well, it was the same way as Clayton when they let go of Clayton and he left. It was a sad day. So yeah, it was the same way. And this is why I'm at the place I'm at, where I root for the logo and I don't root for the individual players. I wish they put the old logo back in place. I would
Yeah.
feel I would feel 50 times better about their direction because I look at that logo and all I see is like doom and gloom ever since we've added it, right? Like it's been more gloom than anything. And
Mhm.
to me, if they brought back the old logo, well, that might bring back, the memories more or less. Maybe it would bring back, they seem to play better. Did you ever notice when they wear the throwbacks, they play their best football? I don't know what it is. They play great in those throwbacks. Like, no matter who they're playing, they just seem to play, I don't know, a different brand of, they're tougher. They seem to be tougher in those games. But that's just me.
Yeah. So real quick, out of all the logos that you've seen there, which one was your favorite?
Yeah, the '89 logo was my favorite. The one prior to it's pretty much the same. I just like the more defining sun, the colors in the sun is a little darker. Then it's not as orange. It's more
Mhm.
red, like on fire. So, yeah, I mean, you can kind of pick and choose, or it's all kind of the same logo. I always loved the little dolphin, the helmet with the M. I was kind of like, why did they ever get rid of that? To me, that was the way to go. The '97 one's interesting, but to me, it's like cartoonish. And then, of course, the present logo. To me, it looks like a whale. I don't go for it. I don't buy any swag or like any sort of merch with the new
Mhm.
logo on it. I refuse. Like my wife will always say, "Well, there's a dolphin. The dolphin cap looks nice." Yeah, I don't want that. I don't like the look of it. It's just not for me. You
Yeah.
know,
Somebody said that looks like the Aqua Fresh. Remember Aqua Fresh, the
yeah,
toothpaste?
yeah, yeah, buddy. That. I never thought about that, but you're right. Yeah, the toothpaste.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, you're right. To me, it just looks like a whale. I don't want to root for the Miami Whales. That's not why I'm here.
Are you
Dolphins.
fat shaming? No.
What's that?
I said, are you fat shaming the dolphin? No.
No, 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 not at all. To me, that looks like a humpback whale or something. I don't know. It's just the way I see it.
So, any final thoughts before we head out, man? And again, appreciate you for coming on here, man. This was
Again,
an amazing experience, man.
yeah,
I was
shake.
looking forward to this because I'm tell you what,
Yeah,
you delivered the goods, man. You know your football. You know the you've had I tell you what, you've had a wealth of football experience that a lot of people wish they could have, including
yeah. And
myself.
again, I've been blessed. I mean, to see the things I've seen and to travel to the cities I've been to, and to enjoy, like great football through many different eras, right? Because when I started watching, it was more defense was the kind of the name of the game and running game. It was a tougher game back then, in my opinion. Now it's all about the passing and the quarterbacks, and it's a quarterback driven league. But I still love football the same. It's just I've been blessed to see both sides of it, so I can kind of make those comparisons, which I'm happy to do. Um, but yeah, I really appreciate coming on, giving
No
my
doubt. Appreciate
feedback,
you.
and kind of explaining where the whole thing, Mr. Negative, came from, because people just think I'm some sort of like hateful fan that I should go and root for some other team, or you know at the end of the day, I want what the fans want, and that's to win for Miami to win a Super Bowl. That's I don't think too much to ask. The time I've invested in this team and the energy I've invested, I think all of us fans have done that, right, to a certain degree, and we should all be rewarded. As far as we put so much into this team, so much energy, so much emotion that a Super Bowl win would be the team giving us something back, right? Thank you for your loyalty. Thank you for being a fan for so long. Thank you for, sticking by us when, it wasn't always great, and that's how I fan. I'll always stick by the Dolphins. I may talk badly about them. I may talk negatively, but at the end of the day, I love this team just like most Dolphin fans, love their team. It's no different. I'm just a little bit more, I guess, I don't know. I'm an older fan, so I've seen a lot more disappointment because I've also seen them be successful. And when you've seen both, you can have that different, I think moniker about you. You can kind of differentiate, right? But when you've only seen bad, when you finally see a little bit of good, like we've seen this year with the 11-5 record, yeah, you think that, hey, this is the greatest thing ever because you've been starving for that success for so long that it feels great.
Yeah, no doubt.
I just hope that they can beat that drought. They now own the longest drought for a playoff win in the 4 major sports, and it's embarrassing. I hope they can finally get over that hump. Go Dolphins and, just finally turn it around. Make us all, believers. That's all I'm asking for. It's not much to ask.
All right, cool. Hey, if you mind hanging out backstage for a couple of minutes, or just a few questions I want to ask you. If you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anyway, hey, once again, this is another episode of In the Blender, Season 2, Mr. Negative, and I mean, like I said, I hope the people that watch this that thought you were a fake fan will actually see this and now have the evidence that to prove them otherwise. You know what I'm saying?
That's all I hope for, Shake. Lewis, Clearwater was an absolute treat. I went to a lot of great restaurants. I didn't make it down to a game, spring training. I should have bought tickets in advance. They wanted like $75 for a practice game, and I wasn't going to go and do that. But I was in John's Pass, went down to the beach there, enjoyed fabulous weather. You guys are really lucky to have what you have down in Florida. It's truly just a beautiful area, and I had a wonderful time. Thank you for asking, Lewis.
And again, 2 weeks from now, on the 19th, man, Steve Malloy will be here on this channel. Next week is KP from the Fins Tailgate.
Oh, I'll tune in. I always do, Shake. I love the guests that you have on the show. Everyone always brings a different perspective, and I really enjoy it because that's what it's all about, gaining as many opinions and perspective as you can.
Yeah, that's one thing that you will notice about me when I do panel shows, whether you're anti-Tua, for Tua, for Ricky, anti-Ricky, I don't care who you are. If you're a Dolphin fan, hell, even a Bills fan, when I do open panels, I open up to everybody. I love freedom of expression. That's my thing, and I'm always going to allow people to express themselves and be who they are. You know what I'm saying? Because the saying goes, I'd rather you hate me for who I am than love me for who I'm not. So I appreciate,
absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So
100%.
With that being said, man, and by the way, he was on the fish. He was in the blender. He was my second guest this year. He was my He was the second last year. So
Lewis is always a pleasure to talk to. I interact with Lewis all the time in spaces. King Mill again. Welcome. Yeah, Lewis, you're my guy as well. You've always had my back in the spaces. I've always been respectful. 100%. I love your takes. And it's always a pleasure to interact with Lewis and the Finns tailgate, 100%.
Yeah, no doubt. So with that being said, man, we out this mud. Y'all be safe. And by the way, I forgot to tell you, last year's Buffalo loss, the first Buffalo loss, was the one good thing about that. By the way, this was at the Buffalo game.
Nice.
That game. But
nice.
The one thing I liked about that, the Buffalo game was, where the hell is that picture? Damn it. I know I have it here somewhere. Holy crap. Where are you? Damn it. No, I didn't. Here it is.
Oh, nice. Zach Thomas, I mean, he is an ambassador of the Dolphins. Just really a great guy. And that's, I'm
sure wear that hat to represent the Finns tailgate, but he signed it. And just like you said about your Sam Madison jersey, it's retired.
Awesome, Shake. No, that's a wonderful story. And I'm so happy for Zach that he finally got the recognition with the Hall of Fame. It's well-deserved. It was long overdue.
Oh, yeah. So, fins up, everybody.
I know you heard me on the radio flexing. She loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all day. Pick up the phone late night with Larry K. I know you heard me on the radio flexing. She loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all day. Pick up the phone late night with Larry K.